So hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Kristen. I use she, her pronouns, and I am a designer and the co-founder of the Conscious Costume program. For the first part of tonight's event, please, if you are an attendee, please keep your mics and cameras off. The event will be recorded. We will invite you to turn your mic and camera back on towards the end for the Q&A if you are comfortable with that, and the recording will be edited and shared on YouTube at a later date. Amber from AIBI will be moderating the chat for tonight's event for any technical questions and for the Q&A portion. The next event for Conscious Costume is an ongoing textile drive from now until the 26th. We have a 7,000-pound goal, so every little bit helps. And I will put the link to the details in the chat real quick. I just closed the chat. There it is. So be sure to follow us and the WasteShed and AIBI on Facebook and Instagram for all the upcoming projects and events that all the different organizations that are co-sponsoring tonight's event are working on. And with that little bit of housekeeping out of the way, welcome everyone, and thank you so much for joining us tonight. Most of the organizers and guests of tonight's event are located on the unceded lands of the Council of the Three Fires, often known as the Ojibwe, Ottawa, and Potawatomi peoples, colonially known as Chicago. However, we recognize that although Zoom meetings seem to take place virtually, they are actually hosted in very real servers located in San Jose, California. And San Jose sits on the land of the Muwekma Ohlone tribe. Please visit nativeland.ca for more information on these lands and where you live. And please take a moment, if you are comfortable doing so, and introduce yourself in the chat with your name, pronouns, location, and whatever else you'd like to share so we kind of have a sense of who's joining us tonight. And now I would like to invite our panelists to introduce themselves in no particular order. I'm just doing them the order they are on my screen. Let's start with Hila.
Hi, everyone. My name's Hila Geller. I use she and her pronouns. I've been in the fashion industry for about 18 years working as a designer. Now I help other designers bring their collections to life. And I also have a brand named Stum where I use recycled materials. I've been an artist since childhood. I found out about DiscarDisco through AIBI. And I identify as an artist, as a fashion designer, as just like kind of a mess. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Blair Goldman. I use she, her, or they pronouns. I identify as a self-taught sewist. I've been sewing also since childhood, but have only recently really started to embrace it in a more full-time manner recently. And that is in no small part due to DiscarDisco, which I found out about through the WasteShed's social media. Somehow I missed it in 2020. So I'm really so excited to be joining for 2021.
All right, hello everyone. I'm Chris. I use he, his pronouns. I'm an artist. I identify as an artist. First, self-taught clothing designer, garment maker. I make some accessories as well. I work for a fashion technology startup that's based here in Chicago, and I manage our custom clothing operations there. I love to do personal styling. I found out about the WasteShed and specifically DiscarDisco. My old studio over in Humboldt used to be down the street from the WasteShed, so I would always go check it out and do like little hauls before I went to go work in the studio, and just fell in love with it. And as soon as I found out about the first DiscarDisco, I was like all over that. I need to be a part of it. This year was so much fun as well doing it virtually. So yeah.
And I think, Chris, you are the only person who has done it both years, if I am not mistaken, at least as far as people who are here tonight. I'm sure there were other people who did it multiple times. And our last panelist, Pat Rice, had a scheduling conflict. It was not able to be here tonight. So she may jump on towards the end, but I'd like to introduce Eleanor Ray, the founder of the WasteShed, and the reason we're all here tonight. Go ahead, Eleanor.
Hey, I'm Eleanor Ray. I go by she and her, and I founded the WasteShed in 2014. I wanted to show you guys my tuxedo that I made, because I made a tuxedo and I'm really proud of it. I did jetted pockets and everything. anyways, yeah, so I also am an artist and maker and do a lot of, textile and clothing stuff. So DiscarDisco really was sort of born out of, a love that I have for trash fashion and for making clothing and for remaking clothing. I also run a project called Radical Mending, which is like a mending teaching workshop that I've been teaching on and off for just about a decade now. So yeah, it's and DiscarDisco both years has been such a terrific kind of community event in different ways. So I'm really excited to talk about it with y'all.
Fantastic. Actually, Eleanor, some of my first questions as we get going are for you. So what do you really love about doing the DiscarDisco event? And what inspired it originally?
Yeah, yeah, so I did a trash fashion show in Portland in, like I was a participant in one in, I think when was that? That was like 2008, maybe, a while ago. So it was called Junk to Funk, and it just like, they like rented out a ballroom for it, and and like it was Portland, so like the mayor was a judge, like because that's the sort of thing that happens when you're in Portland. But it was just like, it was a lot of fun, and just like the work that people made was really incredible. I think the winner had made this whole like structure out of like old window blinds, like the crappy Roman, like the, just like the cheapest,
like the horizontal.
Yeah, like, and just, but like bending them and like making them these into amazing shapes. So I think like I always had that in the back of my mind as like something that I really wanted to do with the WasteShed once I, sort of had committed to creative reuse as a career path. There's just something really engaging about just like wearing some trash, or just like trying to, and then also just with, how like what a sort of environmental disaster the like textile and fast fashion industry is now. It's a real sort of pain point, I think, in terms of like fashion and culture, just the amount of waste and sort of environmental destruction involved in that industry. So I feel like it's very current and very relevant to sort of like pull apart like what fashion is and how it works and what it can be, and kind of try and rephrase that in terms of like the resources that we have that are not being utilized, as opposed to like just incredibly sort of damaging and extractive process. So
sure. Well, I know one thing that I really love about the development and growth of creative reuse centers is, I think as an artist, I tend to be a bit of a hoarder, because it's like, well, I have this half empty bottle of paint and I don't want to put it in the trash, but like, who knows when I'm going to use it again. And creative reuse centers really enable me as an individual artist and craftsperson to be less protective and hoarding of my resources, but to share them and to spread them, which I think is, environmentally friendly, but also really socially friendly. And I really love that about what the WasteShed is doing. Is there anything additional that you want to talk about as about sort of what attracted you to creative reuse and upcycling as a career path, as you said? Like what was that path for you?
It was sort of a convergence of a lot of things, I think. My art practice just sort of ended up being working with all reused materials, just because I found them more interesting, just because, things that have a life to them and have sort of an existence that's not, I brought this thing into existence by like wishing it or like wanting it and go like, it found me instead of me finding it. Like that's something that I've always like really, that's really sort of sparked for me creatively. And I think also, there's a sort of a freedom in something that's already been used, or like that's already, that's not like, a fresh piece of fabric that you like, paid by the yard for at the fabric store, something that sort of is not a blank canvas, has a little bit of, sorry, my cat is sniffing me. sort of the pressure's off a little bit, and there is kind of a freedom that you get from just being like, oh, well, this is already, on its way to the landfill basically. And anything that I can do to sort of intervene in that process is me bringing it back to life, or me like sort of giving it another, intervening in this like trajectory from like where it was produced to where it will live in the landfill forever.
Right.
So I think that's like, those are both just really creative, sort of inspiring spaces. And yeah, and sort of the way that works in Chicago, I think is really wonderful, and motivated me to kind of try and make that, sort of bring that community together. So yeah.
I love that. And I love that we've brought a community together around DiscarDisco. I think that's was the first event that I really participated in with the WasteShed, and I'd been to the WasteShed I think once before that, but like I feel like so much more connected to a community of artists as a result of the event. So thank you for all that you do. I'm going to transition a little bit into participant questions. So anyone can start as we go through, feel free to jump in. So if you could describe for us a little bit about your creative process with your DiscarDisco garment, and sort of like, are you used to designing with a materials first approach? I know that my background is a costume designer, and so usually I'm drawing the thing and deciding what it looks like and then finding the materials. So I don't know if that's your experience or whatever about your process you want to share tonight.
I'll jump in.
Great.
I've done it both ways. I like starting with the materials usually, and I love that the box was kind of like you have to like bring it to life based on what's in the box. So it's nice to have the materials because you're not veering too far. There's not too many options. You just you have what's in front of you, which was nice. And yeah, I just love that kind of like chop challenge situation with the box.
Yes.
Yeah, I find constraints really helpful when I'm designing as well. I totally agree with that. Kristen or Blair?
Design first too. So having, same as Hila, where just having the materials in the box really put, not quite limits, but you were definitely had to think outside the box for what you had to with the very much intended.
I would say I'm pretty materials forward. Like I do a lot of collage art. So like I just kind of love like kicking stuff around my studio and like walking through it all on the floor and like picking up random scraps and gluing them onto things. So I just love I just loved like looking at all of it and kind of like trying to make sense of it, and being initially pretty overwhelmed with like what it was and like how to detangle it all in my mind. But yeah, it was a really fun challenge though, for sure.
And how did you approach detangling it? Like, this is a question for everybody, not just Chris, but was there like one piece of fabric or one item that really was the starting point and then you grew from there? Or how did you sort of sort through the materials and decide what was going to get used in what way?
I feel like I had no color palette in my box. The three fabrics that I had were about 3/4 of a yard of beautiful red corduroy, but that's not really enough to make a garment. And then I had this very stiff, almost unusably stiff floral canvas, and then these little tiny squares of skull fabric. I'm like, what am I going to do? So I really had to, I think I worked with the canvas first. And once I figured I could cut out the flowers without fraying, sort of was able to work from there. And then the skull fabric was the last element. And I think that the night before the show, I was like, let's just glue them on some boots and call it a night.
Yes. Yeah, with me, I think I took like I was like grouping things by color and like, okay, like this could be like, kind of cohesive together. And then other things, I was like, I'm gonna like postpone that one till later. I was joking about a NASCAR fabric that worked its way into my box. So I like I started with the things I really liked first, and then like was like, okay, I have a lot of this one. This is gonna be like a main piece, and then kind of just tried to work with the amount of the fabric and then like what things go together.
Yeah, I think quantity. Go ahead, Hila.
Yeah, so for me, I knew I wanted to make some kind of dress or a gown. I knew that the, half yards weren't going to be enough. And I also, the colors, this fabric was originally like white here where it's pink. So I really had to transform it and over dye it. I knew that I couldn't deal with it being like orange, white, and green. So it was nice to try to like stare at the fabrics for a while and see what they wanted to be and how they were going to come together.
Yeah, you
Sure.
really have to spend time with the materials. I like that.
Yeah.
I mean, you had like these kind of key ingredients in your box, materials that you were just spending, at least 3 weeks with, and really had to think about these materials that would have otherwise been discarded or sat at the WasteShed.
What did you do in terms of any research or sketching? Is that a part of your process?
I did a lot of YouTubing, specifically with construction. There were some things I hadn't done before, so I was like, I just did a lot of YouTube tutorials personally.
Great.
For me, it was like, how can I layer more? Because there were so many like smaller materials. So you start with the fabric, but like, how am I going to layer, the buttons on top and the zipper and the, the tassels? It's just, how are you going to throw it all in one garment or in, one outfit and make it look like you didn't just throw a bunch of stuff together in one outfit?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I will say, I thought it was, for the most part, the boxes all had a color palette. Hila, it looked like yours had maybe a little bit broader of a palette than some of us had. And I know some of the boxes had like little notes or like themes in them. Did anyone have a note or a theme in their box?
Mine did. Mine had the words toxic octopus, so I just ran with that, and I found it much later on into the process. And I just was like, oh, I think I should just listen to that. I don't really know. I don't even know if, like, it was supposed to be in there, but I just was like, okay, I'm gonna go with that. So looked for a sign and there it was.
I love that. And I think that those words definitely translated into your final look. Like, I got toxic octopus from looking at it. And I hadn't noticed the bag until I was looking at the close-up of the photos, the little octopus bag that you made. It's great. It's just great.
That was my favorite piece of your outfit. I love that bag.
Yeah, I need to post a close-up of it on our social media, but I didn't want to reveal it too early. Great. So I know that a lot of you I know we've talked a lot already today about creative reuse and environmental concerns and waste and things like that. Are those things that you think about sort of in your everyday artistic practice in terms of environmental or climate crisis or things like that? Is this a departure for you to think about those things, or is that sort of a part of your artistic practice on a daily basis?
So my mom sewed growing up, and it was kind of like there was always like scraps around that I got to play with. So I feel like it's similar. Like you want to make a project, but you're just trying to like scramble some things that you find. And I find that like a little bit similar to work with materials that would have been discarded. And I mean, professionally, I haven't done that so much, but it's nice to kind of do it without, like, I think like Eleanor was saying, it takes the pressure off.
Mm-hmm.
I think upcycling
Absolutely.
has always been a huge part of my design process and kind of my sewing artistic journey. I think it's such an easy place for young sewists or early sewists to start, because not only are you taking things apart and kind of seeing the construction of a garment, but then you get to rework it in really creative ways. And I think that also plays into sustainability. And when you're going, digging for treasures at the WasteShed or thrift shops, or just these huge places that Goodwill that have massive amounts of clothes and items, you kind of, it hits you, the scale of stuff that already exists and how much attention and care that it needs to not end up in a landfill.
Yeah, and I think repairing your own garments is a really great entry point for people who don't know a lot about sewing. Is like just that first button on your favorite coat that you put back on can be a real good entry point for people. Chris?
Yeah, I think just like having worked like in a fashion or styling job, you just see how much stuff comes through, and it's just insane. So I think like anything I can do in my art to just like use what's around me, and whether it's out of convenience or just budgeting or just being eco-conscious, it's kind of all of those things for me. Like I like to start from somewhere with like an element that's out of my control, I guess, and then kind of take it from there.
I'm really glad you brought up budget, because I think we've touched on it a little bit, but I think a lot of people think that being environmentally conscious is more expensive. And so I think, remembering that there are these secondhand options that are actually less expensive, I think is a really important thing for people to keep in mind, that it can be accessible, and that, yeah, if you walk into, Blick or Vogue Fabrics, it's going to be expensive, but there are other places to go.
It's so much cheaper if you know how to do it right.
Yeah.
I was telling Hila, I visited for the first time ever in Pilsen textile discount outlet yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And the amount, well, first of all, the amount of stuff would blow your mind. But I mean,
Yeah.
$2, $3 a yard, $25 for a dead stock bolt. I mean, that's, you can't get that at Joann or Blick. And so it really, you just have to be creative about your workarounds to be budget friendly. But that is also a reason I got into sustainability, is it's much cheaper.
Did you go into the basement?
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Oh my God.
All 3 floors. I was there for probably an hour and a half. It was incredible. I took a video. There was a big sign that said, "Go upstairs if you need more zippers." And there's zippers like strewn across the floor, just piles and drawers of zippers. And it's like, if you need more, let us know. It's insane.
Yeah, it's an unreal space. If you have not been and you are here tonight, I highly recommend checking it out. It is a great small local business, and they have everything under the sun. And they're really, really nice. So I'm curious, because I think we all have different inspirations. What or who inspires you as an artist, or in upcycling, or whatever area you want to talk to? What is your inspiration?
I guess I can go. I don't always want to go first. I feel bad.
All right, I'll call on someone not you next time, Hila.
No problem. So I'm inspired by the fabrics usually initially, and I love for them to like speak to me. I know it sounds crazy, but I love trying to honor like their beauty and their, what they are. And so I love that, upcycling kind of has to do with that. I love getting things from thrift stores now and like rehabbing them and doing things like that, which is essentially what I do for some. But yeah, it's just like the process of transforming something that like wasn't wanted, was discarded, into something that's valuable and new.
I love that.
I really love that you used the word honor. You honor the fabrics, because I feel like that's an approach that I take in upcycling as well, where I've always been really attracted to like function. I think that's why I got into sewing originally. And I love ceramics, and just something that you can use in your day-to-day life, whether that's clothing or, bowls and mugs, but do it with beauty and kind of be able to, honor the materials that you're using for that.
I love that.
Yeah, I think with me, I like my art and like interest in fashion, like I love, some of the more avant-garde designers. Like I love like things that are really complicated and impractical to wear potentially. And I just love like, kind of complicating the ideas of like what's usable, what's found, what's kind of thrown together. Like that's my total inspiration always. And yeah.
That's terrific. I love that. I love all of those answers. Those are really wonderful. So what are each of you working on now, and where can people see more of your work? And I'm going to make Chris go first because he's been going last.
Right. Right now I'm working on a series of beach towels. Some of them are hand painted, so they're not entirely usable or washable. They're kind of like fabric paintings that you can hang on a wall. I take a lot of like walks and runs. So I like take pictures of flowers and like things that I'm watching on TV and like work them into these beach towel quilt creations. And they're on my Instagrams. You can check that out.
That's great. And then do you want to talk a little bit more about the works that you're exhibiting in Dallas right now?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm originally from Texas, so it kind of works its way into a lot of my art. But in my hometown right now, there's sort of a Pride Month show that I was asked to be a part of, and I'm just showing some of my collages that I made with stuff from the WasteShed. So they're down in Texas, and yeah, if you know anyone down there, let me know.
I have a friend down there. I will send them. Are they mostly two-dimensional works of art, or?
Yeah, they're like canvas, you
Okay.
can hang them on a wall. I think they have one of them like on a shelf or something kind of leaning, but yeah, that was up to them. So
Yeah, totally fair. Totally fair. Blair, what are you working on right now?
I just started, but I am working on for AIBI. I'm working on a collection to apply to their Rev Up fashion show. That is this fall. I'm sure there will be some announcements or housekeeping later, but I actually wanted to keep, it's not a requirement necessarily, but I wanted to keep the theme of sustainability. So right before we started recording this call, Kristen, we were talking about the Chicago Creative Reuse Exchange in on the South Side, and I got a whole roll of those blue plastic recycling bags that they use in Chicago, and I've been kind of experimenting with making them into a textile, so I'm pretty excited for that. And they also have this printed motif on it that says "Keep Chicago Beautiful." So we'll see.
I love that.
I know. I'm really excited, but that's going to be my summer.
Yes, I bet it will be.
Yeah. Don't remind me. Deadlines. But you can find more of my work on my Instagram at blairs.wear or my newly published website, blairgoldman.com.
And the website looks great.
Thank you so much. Not my forte. I appreciate that.
It can definitely be a challenge when it's not the thing that you know how to do. Hila, what about you? What are you up to these days?
I'm working on a new collection for STEM, using recycled materials, honoring them, making them into something new, probably something fancier. And you can find that at stemapparel.com at stemapparel. My Instagram's at Hila Geller.
Great. I'm going to put more links in the chat for people. And that is sort of the bulk of the questions that I had. And I would love to open up the floor and see if we have any audience questions, anything that we didn't answer. Actually, before we do that, I just want to ask one more sort of open-ended question. Is there anything that we didn't touch on in our Q&A so far that you would really like to talk about? Any of you? Or something you wish we had talked about more?
Yeah, Chris,
go
go ahead.
ahead, Blair. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that, and I know that we've all talked about this various times during and since DiscarDisco, but I really feel like in such a short amount of time, there has been this community built around the WasteShed, around AIBI, around conscious costume, that would not have happened without this event. And it's really amazing to see how community forms around these amazing organizations and events.
Yeah,
It was fun to watch it happen in real time. Go ahead, Chris.
I was just gonna throw in like any inspiration or references like to make your look. Like I was just curious. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I know for my look, I definitely did a lot of research because I'm a costume designer. So I did period research. I was looking at like 1970s rocker jackets and things like that. But did anyone else use any reference images in putting together your look, or?
No, I don't.
Such a different world.
I don't sketch either. I'm the worst illustrator ever. So I feel like I just really had to work with the materials, and a lot of it was done with that deadline. There's nothing more motivating than that. So that was my research.
Yes, I do like the what inspires you. Oh, last minute panic.
Yeah, that's it. That's the correct answer.
It's the most inspiring. Yeah. Hila?
I kind of start my process with sketching, and since we had the box and all the materials, like I said, it was how am I going to layer all these materials and make it look like a dress, you know, that like doesn't look like a bunch of things stuck together.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, I do sketch, and I came up with a bunch of different like versions of it. A lot of it was also like tinkering with how I'm gonna get less wastage on my end. So like my sleeves are big rectangles, and like this is actually like spliced differently. So it was really just like, how am I gonna get all the materials on the form? Am I adding a bag? You know, like I have all this extra stuff. Yeah, just the layering.
Yeah, I definitely had to deal with some creative pattern placement in order to get what I wanted to get out of the pieces of fabric. And I will just add that the sad thing about Pat Rice not being able to join us tonight is she is a cosplayer, and so I think would have brought like a whole nother level and a whole nother dimension to this conversation, because I think it's just really cool how this event attracted so many different types of artists. So I think that that's really wonderful, and I miss her perspective so much, but maybe she'll hop on.
Incredible with the layering. Her video was so cool. She's just like putting on pieces, and they keep coming, and it was just so incredible.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
So yeah, do we have any audience questions? Does anyone want to hop on and ask a question of our participants, or Eleanor, or me?
Question, and well, more of a comment. Hila, show us the glasses. You had them on and you took them off before we started recording.
Like, I can't really see you.
Yes.
Oh, is that what you did with the buckles?
She made belt buckles into sunglasses, and I just don't think they got enough hype.
They did not. I didn't even realize
poured paint
that.
on them and then put lacquer. You could sort of see they're like shiny in a way. I don't know if you can see.
What
They're
are
shiny
lenses?
Yeah, those are.
So the lenses are, so my daughter got these glasses. Like that's how I got this part also, you know, like a throwaway giveaway glasses with like something written on it. And I was going to throw them away anyway, but like, I'm like, okay, let me use these for this. I had to kind of like with tweezers, like put together like the two apples, join them so that they don't like, you know, look weird, and that they line up. And the lenses, so I had to break the other glasses to make like this part. And then the lenses are from those glasses. They're just you know,
awesome.
kind of fun. Who would have thought that like two belt buckles? I had no idea what I was going to do with these damn belt buckles.
I just use mine as a belt buckle. So you are like far and beyond. Well, I had one of the apple-shaped belt buckles too. Eleanor, how many of those apple-shaped belt buckles did you have?
A good many, I think. Yeah, quite a number. They ended up in a bunch of people's boxes for sure.
That was another really fun part of the event. So all of the designers didn't know what the final looks were going to be for anyone else either. But the unboxing videos were something that we, per the rules, had to post online. And so you're, you know, like just stalking everybody and watching their videos and like so excited to see what's in their box. I'm like, oh, that's so cool. I wish I'd gotten that. Chris, I wish you had DM'd me about that NASCAR fabric. I would have taken it in an instant. But so it was, you know, Hila, when I saw your glass, I was like, oh my God, that's so cool. I would have never thought to do that. It's just cool to see what designers did with their things.
Yeah, it was a lot of like rewatching people's unboxing videos and be like, oh, I wonder like how that's gonna like, you know, where that's gonna come into play. And I think we were all like posting little snippets and previews, which was really fun too. It was kind of motivating too, to like, if I felt stuck or something, like, you know, when someone else is like posting something really awesome, I was like, oh, I need to like get back and figure my thing out. Like, yeah.
I definitely had a lot of box envy. I still say that I think I got the worst times. Yes.
Chris, I'll admit I did screenshot one of your stories when we had like early on when you posted your mask. I was like, oh my, is that what everyone is? Were we all doing like cool stuff? And it was just, I don't know, it was just so much fun like following the process. But
it was also nice to make something that was not like for a market or for, like just art for art's sake, which is like just so freeing and just amazing, like just so much more amazing as an artist to make art rather than like fashion that's like supposed to be for, you know, a kind of person or yeah.
Yeah, it's great. Does anyone have plans for what they're doing with their DiscarDisco pieces? Do they have a future?
I don't know about the flower vest. I don't think I could bear to deconstruct it again, but the dress, I still have some scraps from the lounge set, which was like a really quite hideous pajama set. It's kind of like a velour material. And I make these plush frogs and I've been using the red for their tongues. So tongues, I think.
So that dress will slowly get deconstructed one tongue at a time, and it will be its third and final life.
Yeah, just like an inch at a time, literally.
So from loungewear to fashion to frog tongues.
Frog, yes.
I love it. I love it.
I think I want to wear my look out. So I think it just needs to go onto a dance floor somewhere and take crazy pictures. Yeah, so I might wear it as separates, but I think definitely just need to bring it out and have some fun in it.
Definitely has that vibe. Yes, DiscarDisco dance night. Yeah. A DiscarDisco disco.
I didn't make my garment to fit me, so if anybody fits this tiny, you know, like skinny person form thing, I mean, my model looked amazing in it. But yeah, I wouldn't wear, you know, it's a little naked, but if anyone, no judgment, if anyone wants it.
When I was putting the outfit back on my dress form, I did not have the dress form when I made this, by the way. I posted some like truly, I don't know, I was just pinning it on my body. It was ridiculous. But putting it on the dress form for this, it felt like I was like a museum curator. I don't know if that's a little, you know, but I don't know. It feels like it's nice to see her all propped up, and yours too, Hila.
Yeah, I also did not have a dress form. So everything I was making, I was like, well, this is a shape that I can sort of belt, and if it doesn't fit perfectly, then who cares?
I actually taped it to my front door first. I like literally had like, I put it on a cardigan and then I taped the arms out like a, I don't know, and didn't quite work. So I really recommend.
I have a giant stuffed penguin that is about 28 inches around, and that I have used as like a skirt form before.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
Make it work.
Cool. You're gonna have to post that on the social media.
Why is there not a picture of this?
I didn't do that for this event. I think it's somewhere on my Instagram from an opera that I did a couple years ago where I used it as a form, because I was making like this Cyndi Lauper scrappy skirt. Ooh. And yeah, the penguin was the first model for that skirt.
I just keep thinking of you pinning into the penguin, like penguin turned voodoo doll.
Yep.
Oh no.
That's so funny.
Yep.
Blair, you're not going to wear this box hat to like the mall or something?
Yeah, you know, maybe when the movie theater starts opening up again.
Yes.
No one will sit behind you if you do.
I was so honored. I did lend it to a friend of mine for a costume night, and he posted about it with the like Devil Wears Prada meme. He goes, "Are you wearing the Blair's Wear USPS hat?" Yeah, I am.
I did see that. That was good.
I love
That
that.
is
Popular than I am now.
It's
That
such a
hat
good
needs
hat.
its own Instagram.
Thank you. She's a little wonky from the snow that got on her, but she's okay. She's
Oh,
okay.
I do want to personally apologize for making everyone tramps around in the snow to make these videos. I feel like you have been victimized by DiscarDisco and the WasteShed and AIBI, and I'm sorry for that. But you all
Monetary
look like you were
compensation.
having fun.
The snowiest day of the whole winter.
I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure every single person filmed either during the snowstorm, right after, or like in the aftermath of it. And while the snow looks beautiful in the background, I know it must have been uncomfortable.
I was shoveling out my car because I filmed the day that it was due, surprise. And I
Same.
was just like, I looked manic. I had my makeup on and I was in big sweats. My neighbor came out to help me. And I was so panicked, and I'm like bringing out this giant hat and this big vest, and I'm like, "Thanks so much, I gotta go." But it was a time. So thank you for the apology, Amber. I've been waiting.
Yeah. Oh, as my great grandmother always used to say, your pride will keep you warm.
Like that.
Yeah,
My
Chris,
model
I
was
feel like
used.
you were the most undressed out there. So yeah, that must have been fun. As the judges were watching, they were like, "That looks like my alley," but then I realized maybe not.
I remember that. Yeah, I was shivering a lot, and a lot of the video takes were like cut away as soon as I was like visibly shaking because it was so cold. And a lot of neighbors that were facing the alley that day got a show. So I did a lot of runway walks, which was just fun for me, but interesting for them, I'm sure.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, my dog thought it was great. He thought it was great
Yeah.
to just go hang out in the snow and walk back and forth for a little while. He's like, "This is awesome."
Honestly,
Teresa, that's funny. She said she's simultaneously showing her friend the OG DiscarDisco, and he asked if you were cold. Yes. Well, I don't expect DiscarDisco to move months. So next year will also be in February. Heads up. Hila lovingly put her model inside of a gym.
No,
So she wouldn't walk outside.
refused to go
I see.
outside.
She was a diva.
That's how it went.
Yeah.
And I respect that because like she's really she's not very, there's not a lot here covering her.
But then next year we'll have a few more options in terms of where to go.
Yes.
Right.
We were just
weather app.
drastically curtailed in terms of locations this past year. So you guys all did great with the limitations.
You did. I really love the differences in locations. You got to see some people's living rooms or dining rooms or their alleyways. I love that you could see different areas of the city and different people's homes.
The videos were so creative.
Mhm.
And they were all so different because we gave very little guidelines on purpose. Kind of.
Maybe slightly fewer guidelines than we would have if we really known what we were doing. But there'll be a little bit more structure next year. So
Every year it's gonna get better. Yeah, I would have filmed inside, but my apartment was not fit for public consumption because I had been sewing nonstop for 5 days.
Yes.
Tornado.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that is something we didn't really talk about is a lot of people joined onto the challenge by seeing other people's unboxing videos. And originally, I believe our deadline for the unboxing video was January 10th or something like that. And because we saw so much interest when the unboxing videos started, we extended the unboxing deadline to January 15th. However, everyone knew the date of the event as February 12th, but they were not aware of the final deadline, which was January 31st. And so when they picked up their boxes and got the little postcard that said that, instant panic set in. And that meant that a lot of people only had 10 days to put this thing together. And that's not a lot of time to make an entire garment and film it and edit it and send it in. So yeah, you all are troopers. I think Hila, you were in that camp of finding out at the very end.
Yeah, and it's funny because I had followed the WasteShed, I follow AIBI, so I was like, like if something was going on, I'm like, why didn't I know about this sooner? But it was okay. The real challenge for me was really the video, because the unboxing video was the first video I ever made, and then the second video I ever made was the video. So I never edited or cut things out or like put music and stuff. Yeah, it was a learning curve, definitely.
Yeah, I can see that.
My unboxing video
Yes.
was also my first one. I think it took me like 6 or 8 hours to edit that. And it shouldn't take 6 or 8 hours, but it did.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, you see all these like TikTok videos. Like most people can make a TikTok video these days, can't they? But not everyone does these things. So yes, it unlocked a lot of new skill sets for everyone, I think.
I mean, that's been the whole pandemic though, is all sorts of new skills.
Yeah,
Across the board.
it's true.
Are there any audience questions? I'll give a minute. Or waiting for that. I would love to reveal the results of the trivia. So I will ask the panelists who made the fabulous gown with the haunting face on it.
Was that Hila?
That was
I right?
Hila.
Yes.
Yep, you were right. That was Hila. And then the gold mask was Pat. And then who is the big anime fan? That's Chris. And who? Kat has a question. Why are you all so awesome? And then who learned how to sew by repairing stuffed animals as a child?
I was like Blair. Yes.
Yep, that's
Yes.
Blair. So
I love that.
thank you all for
Love the
answering the little trivia questions and for sharing so generously of photos of your other work. It was fabulous. And I do need answers to Kat's question. Why are you all so awesome? Blair, go.
Hila, you haven't gone on.
Nice.
Kat, why are you so awesome? Turn it back, Give her a minute to respond.
She's sticking her tongue out.
Yep, that's about par for the course. Well, if there are no audience questions, I don't really have anything else except to say thank you so much to our participants and our audience for being here tonight. It was really, really, really fabulous to get to learn more about you as people and artists, and to learn more about how you interfaced with DiscarDisco. And I am really excited to watch what you guys do over the next year and to see what you do for DiscarDisco next year and see how the event grows. And Eleanor, thank you so much for providing the WasteShed and for your time and passion that goes into it. I know how exhausting it can be since I spent hours lifting boxes and sorting costumes today at my own similar space. So I get it. And it's a labor of love, as I think all of the things that we do are. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much to all the artists for participating. It was everyone was it was like a terrific crop of artists, and really looking forward to next year. We're already, looking at probably February 10th as the day for next year, and then figuring out, spaces if we're doing it as a live event, and then also how to work in an online component as well, to kind of keep the openness and accessibility of the online format too. So it's going to be a whole other third different thing to learn how to do, but it's going to be really fun.
Yeah, not going to be due January 22nd. Okay, maybe. Well, I mean, you're not. It actually might be.
I'm not wrong.
Well, at least announce it in early December. Please, I'm begging you.
Oh no, we're announcing in October.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
At least wait till after Rev Up then. I wanted
Yes.
to.
Yeah, so once Rev Up ends, know to start looking out for WasteShed updates, okay?
Well, and when I see it, I'll post it on Conscious Costume too. So if that's how you heard about this event, I will totally signal boost it there to make sure as many people know as possible. I want to get more costume people into this to get that other side of things.
Yes.
Thank you for giving us the chance to relive this. It was such a great experience.
I hope it wasn't traumatic.
No, I love the people, and it was just like such a great community. It was really, really great. So I'm so happy to like kind of re-experience it.
Yeah, I found myself really wanting to know more about how everyone approached this and just wanting to get to know you guys better. So I scheduled an event so that I had an excuse. So thank you for coming and playing.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you so much to everyone who's worked on it. It honestly is the most fun thing I do every year now. So I'm looking forward to the next one. But like it's such a blast to be a part of it. So thanks for having us.
Yay. Thanks everyone. Have a great evening.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.